This presentation is brought to you by Smoooth Productions.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Smoooth Conversations, where the conversations are always smooth. It is your boy Smoooth, that is Smoooth with 3 O's. And thank you all for tuning in for another edition. We're going to have a great time. I am so excited to be back. And I'm also very excited because in 4 more days, yours truly is celebrating a birthday. And I cannot wait. So what better gift or part of the birthday gifts than to have this show tonight with a very special guest. For those watching for the very first time, thank y'all very much. I need everyone right now, no matter if you're on YouTube or on Facebook or on Twitter or on Instagram, go ahead and hit the like, go ahead and share, go ahead and repost, because we want to get as many people tuned in right now to this special show. For those wondering, what is Smoooth Conversations? Well, I'm glad y'all asked. But Smoooth Conversations is all about we see so many people doing amazing things on stage, on TV, and radio, on social media, wherever it may be, but we never see what goes on behind that. Everyone has a story to tell. And that's what this show is all about, is where they came from, how they got there, the present time, and what they're looking forward to down the line. And that's what this show is all about. It's not about being petty. It's not about the negativity. This show is all about uplifting, inspiring others, because there may be someone who could be maybe who want to be in my shoes or in my guest shoes, that they see that story or hear that story and it helps them out along the way. And they can look back and say, watching this episode changed my life. So that's what Smoooth Conversations is all about. Smoooth Conversations, where the conversations are always smooth. Make sure y'all go ahead, if you haven't already, go to Smoooth Conversations, Smoooth with 3 O's. Y'all put in 2 O's, you ain't gonna find the right page. So once again, Smoooth with 3 O's. Go on YouTube, like, subscribe. Let's get them numbers up. Let's get crazy right now. I'm over 100 or so, but I want to get over 1,000 and then even more. So it all depends on people like yourselves who's watching, who's listening right now, to make that happen. So go ahead, like, share on YouTube. Also, you can listen every Thursday, whether it's a live show like what you listen to right now, or if it's the best of Smoooth Conversations, you can go to KBDR Beat District Radio. Go to the website, beatdistrictradio.com, or download the app on Google Play or the App Store. KBDR Beat District Radio just started up and running back in March. We are the first online radio station, started out in the heart of Ferguson. Ain't no one else doing what we're doing. And we're trendsetters, and this thing is getting bigger and bigger. Shouts out to my Beat District Radio family. Right before my show, you heard JD the DJ holding things down. So shouts out to my brother, and shouts out to everyone else. We have DJ shows. We have a comedy podcast. Of course, we have Smoooth Conversations. We even have teen podcasts and teen DJ shows. So we just continue to expand and do amazing things. We're going out to the community, helping, serving, and just doing what we need to do. So lock in, y'all, to Beat District Radio. Go to the website, once again, beatdistrictradio.com. Now, for those wondering about just me, I am a professional DJ, MC, anything in regards to productions. That's what I'm all about. And I make sure that it's smooth, and that's Smoooth with 3 O's. I also have a sports talk show network called The Platform Sports Talk Show that I've been doing for 8 years consistently every Wednesday. Every first Wednesday of the month, you have Ladies Night, all-female panel. I call it the best panel of ladies who love sports. Every last Wednesday, we have the Man Cave, where it's just the fellas, and it's where anything can go down. Then you also have, in between those weeks, you have the main show where I host, and it'll be a collaboration of panelists from the Ladies' Night and from the Man Cave. So it's amazing. We have incredible guests. Had the honor a couple years ago of having Danny Mack. Y'all know him from being a Cardinals broadcaster. I had him on the show. Just so many great people that I've had on the Platform Sports Talk Show Network. So make sure y'all go ahead and scan the QR code right now on the screen and see everything under the Smoooth Productions umbrella. You'll also see Smoooth Moments. So you need some photography, videography, or some drone services done, I got you. Then, of course, you see KBDR Beat District Radio. Going back to the radio station, y'all want to place an ad in regards to your business for us to go ahead and broadcast it, show love. And also, if you want some sponsorship, maybe you want to sponsor Smoooth Conversations or any one of these so many great shows on KBDR Beat District Radio, shoot us an email at info@beatdistrictradio.com. Once again, info@beatdistrictradio.com. So now that's enough of the promo at this moment. It's time, y'all, to go ahead and bring in the reason why so many are tuned in and looking forward to this conversation. Please feel free throughout this whole time to leave comments. And if I approve, it will be shown on the screen because we want to have myself and my special guest to be able to interact. We want to see you shower him with so much love. If you have any questions, if you have any stories, anything that maybe was inspiring to you that you saw from this man, leave comments throughout the show. I'll do my best to go ahead and have them shown on the screen so we can both interact with you. But as I had in the promo, this man, 38 years, y'all, 38 years of broadcasting experience, being on TV, doing radio, being out in the streets. He's been one of the most dedicated, loyal, trustworthy people that you will ever experience. I've had the pleasure of seeing this man. We started off when he came to St. Louis, started off as a sports anchor, and now he's doing national news, local news, and the whole nine. So I've always said progress is sexy. So I just love seeing how you come for one thing and then doing so many other things as well. And once again, he's been so dedicated, so loyal, so true to what he's done. And then outside of that, you can't forget that he's a father, he's a husband, he's a son. And we're going to talk about that and so much more, as it is my honor to have the one, the only Mr. Rene Knott. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing good. That's one heck of an intro. I appreciate you having me on. You know, jack of all trades is selling it short. You got a whole lot going on. You got a whole lot going on. That's good, though. That's good.
I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, I know that the last month or so has been something that you maybe didn't see coming. But I definitely appreciate you still taking time out, because you could have been like, nah, I'm just going to be by myself or whatever. But you still was gracious enough to first respond back and for us to find ways to connect to be on this show. So once again, I thank you from the bottom of my heart for you being here.
You're welcome. I appreciate you having me on. You know, the community to me is number one. And when I came to St. Louis back in 2004, I was kind of seen as an outsider, right? And it took a little while, but then once you earn that trust, earn that acceptance of, yeah, you're one of us, then you feel like you lived here all your life. And I'm 61 years old. I've lived here for 21 years, and it's the one place I've lived in the most in my lifetime. And so being here is something I want to continue. Don't want to leave. I believe in this community. I believe in the people who are trying to advance our community, trying to take care of the people who are down and out and need to be uplifted. I just think that St. Louis is a special place that a lot of people overlook because we only look at one thing, and that seems to be the crime stats,
right? Instead
of really diving in and meeting the real people of our city.
Right. Yeah. So just saying that, I mean, 2025 has been one hell of a year, hasn't it? It's like ever since January.
You want to go to the beginning, or we go to where we
I was just about to say, as soon as the first hit, it's like something, crazy just happened in this world,
Yeah.
And I don't know if you noticed it because you were driving here at night, but I am out here in Florissant, and my house not completely as bad as what other houses were, but my house and this neighborhood was affected by the 314 tornado.
Yeah, I did. So the interesting thing about the tornadoes and the things that have happened in the area is that until you get out and about, you don't realize the damage that has been done and how long it has taken for people to rebound. So following the May 16th tornado in St. Louis proper, I went down, I want to say I started going down there, Man Meets.
Yeah.
And I hooked up with him and we met, I want to say it was probably that Tuesday. And I rode along with him as he went around feeding people. And to see the damage, I was like, whoa, this is St. Louis. This is where I live, and this is right here. And then you drive 5 miles away, and it looks like nothing ever happened. And I think right now, so many people think that it's all okay.
Right.
Think that everybody's back up on their feet, their roofs have been taken care of. No.
Right.
No, I think there's probably a very small amount of people who are close to getting back on their feet. Because I do think that the recovery continues on. And I always felt that of all the stories in St. Louis, that has to continue to be the number one story.
It has.
Because you can't let people think that it's all okay and start looking at something else and turning their backs and not paying attention. They still need the volunteers out there. They still need the sponsors and the people who are willing to donate their time and efforts and all that to get folks back up on their feet. If everybody can get back up on their feet. I have my doubts.
That's the big thing, the if, because I see it every day. Right next door, the house to the left and 2 doors down got hit hard. Like, so the tornado, let's say this is my house, tornado, my neighbor's house, 1, 2. It just kind of brushed my house, took some siding off, the shingles, some little minor things, not as bad, but the house next door, destroyed. It had to go all the way down. Yeah. So right now they're rebuilding. They started since maybe around May, and may not be done till sometime next year. So like you think about those families that there's no telling how long it's going to be until they're back to normalcy.
And there's something about not being in your house.
Right.
I could be your brother, I could be your cousin, your friend, and hey, stay in my basement. I got an extra bedroom, spare bedroom. But it's not your house.
Right.
You don't feel that comfort that you have when you come home, kick your shoes off and, lay down on the couch and watch TV or whatever. Right. And that's a painful thought for me when I think about my house and, the kids growing up there and all that. And to think that whoosh, all wiped out, all the memories, everything else gone. And then you're displaced at the same time.
Right.
And trying to get your footing again.
Right.
So we got to keep those stories alive.
Yeah, we have to. Yeah. And just going back, what's crazy in regards to 314 Day was I had family in town from Houston. So like they drove in. So I had them and I had maybe about 15 people here in this house. We was in this very room. I was DJing. They were playing card games. And, that night it was raining like crazy. Yeah. But we didn't think it would be more than that. So first the power went out. But then it came right back on, like maybe a couple of seconds later. So we're thinking, okay, it's all right. We good. So keep on playing music. All of a sudden goes off again, like maybe 2 minutes later. Then it come back on. We're like, what is going on out here? So my pop, so shouts out to my father-in-law. He was like, you may want to go outside because your neighbor's house got destroyed. We like, what? So we go run outside in the rain. And we see the neighbor's house just crumbled down the middle of the house.
Oh my gosh.
Luckily, my neighbors were out of town in Atlanta. However, one of their children was at the house, but he was able to get out.
Okay.
So everyone was fine. Yeah. But like I said, that house and the house next door to them, both of them were just totally wiped out. While this house barely got, it got hit, but it wasn't as bad as others. So it could have been a casualty here where I wouldn't even be here to do this show possibly because of the damage that could have been done. But other houses around the area was affected. But yeah, just seeing it every day. Yeah, it's a reminder every day. I look outside this door about the effects the tornado had, and then to have something that didn't happen in over 50 years, to have a tornado hit in the city where it rarely hits, that was like, and I said, you know, in regards to what happened out here in Florissant, you know, that it was one thing.
Yeah.
But to happen in the city where it rarely happens, when I say that was just so dramatic to see in person.
I think that's why so many people were in trouble, because you hear the sirens all the time, right? You don't pay attention to them.
Exactly.
Like, you know, sirens again. And you don't think about going down to the basement and all that. And I've talked to so many people who looked out their window and saw, oh my God, and started hauling to get down into the basement to find shelter somewhere. Because and to be honest, sirens, where I live, the siren is basically in the backyard, not too far out. So we hear it all the time, like, you know, we turn the TV on, no troubles out this way. And there was one time when one went through the Pear, which is, I live in Chesterfield, not too far. And I'm like, you know, I go to that mall. I know where that is.
Right.
But it's kind of skipped.
Right.
So when it hit this last one, and I go to Forest Park and all the trees are gone. And then you look across Lindell and you see these beautiful homes, all the tops are gone. And then you go to North City and see the houses are gone. The power of God.
Right.
The power of God. And I think right now it's taking the mercy of God, touching the hearts of people to go back in there and take care of those who are the victims of, you know, are the tornado survivors, to make sure that those people have something. And I love the fact that our area has been so giving. I think when the SNAP benefits a couple of weeks ago, as we're talking about SNAP benefits not coming out for November, the amount of food drives that kicked off, the amount of people that just went to the store and started loading up and taking food to the food pantries. It's incredible to see St. Louis come together when St. Louis has to come together.
Yeah, and as I said before, I do provide drone services. So the day after it hit here, I used my drone. I shared it on social media, and it was one of my biggest, like over 300,000 viewers tuned in. They were sharing it, just so astounded by what they saw, you know, here in my neighborhood. Then I went to the city where I think it happened, in June or May?
May 16th. Yeah.
Made it that time frame, and did it again in certain areas down the city. And once again, I just reshared it and posted. And yes, it just went viral like crazy.
I believe it.
And you know, unfortunately, you don't want your work using the drone
Not that
to
type
be,
of work.
you know, to be that. But also, I like to add some music and motivation behind certain things I do. So it was like, yes, it hurt to see that, but it's not the end.
True.
And that's what we want to make sure that everyone who's watching this or listening right now can know, is that it happened, but it's not the end.
No. And you know, we've been through worse.
Right.
And we've recovered. There's a reason why we're still standing, because we keep believing and we keep the faith and we keep supporting one another and keep moving forward. One of the biggest things that's happened to me since leaving Channel 5 is the amount of love and support that I've received. And you think, you know, this viewers, no, people come over. You know, I was at an event last night for the Boys and Girls Club of Greater St. Louis, and people came over and prayed with me and things like that, because they want you to understand that they're here for you, and that their higher power is here from you. And that's the biggest thing I took away from being out during the tornado, with the amount of people who came out of seemingly nowhere to help out and help lift people back up.
Right. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And let me make sure this is going right here. Had to do a little switcheroo. But yeah, so even with that, going through your own personal things that has happened over this last month, but even over the last few days, because this happened.
Yes, that's my my Fiat. Love that car. So I was driving down Jefferson and somehow ended up in the intersection and got hit from the side. And you would think the size of that car, and trust me, the size of that car isn't even as broad as we are from each other. I can actually sit in the driver's seat and reach out the passenger window if I wanted to. That's how small the car is. So you would think getting hit like that, there'd be nothing left. but I was fine. I got out of the car, walked around, and really the only damage is to that side. But it's the shock of it all. It's the idea of, well, the other thing just happened to me. Now this happened to me. Oh, is this just not my time, not my year? But then again, I have to step back and go, you're still going through a lot less than most people. Because at the time that all this is happening, I'm still able to eat. I'm still able to, go to bed in a warm house or go outside and to cool down. So I have to always try to focus on counting my blessings, counting my abilities, and then recouping and moving forward. Because if you sit down and dwell in, oh, poor, pitiful me, where are you going?
Right.
Who are you helping? You're not helping yourself. You're not helping the people around you. And don't get me wrong. Every single day, there's at least a collective hour of, oh, poor, pitiful me.
Right.
But I also know, too, that people know you. You've got an outreach. And as people have told me, there's something else God has in your plan. So let's find out what that is.
And you know what? With that being said, that's how I feel with these tornadoes that came. Is that, yes, it was unfortunate that it happened, but maybe that's God trying to wake us up with whatever that we've been doing or haven't been doing, right? He finds ways to bring everyone together and give us that wake-up call. Because you said your accident happened on Jefferson. Do you recall what intersection?
Jefferson and Olive.
Okay, so back in 2019, I had an accident on Jefferson and Delmore where I was a victim. I was a victim of a police chase where two young ladies stole a car and they were driving away from the police. I pulled over to the right and they lost control, hit one vehicle, ricochet, and head on to me.
Wow.
And smashed the front of my car, totaled it while my daughter was in the back seat sleeping.
Oh my God.
At the time, she was like maybe 3 years old. And when I say that, because during that time, my mindset was like, I was on cloud nine because I had this car for a couple months. So I'm thinking, you know what I'm saying? I'm living the life. Can't no one tell me nothing.
Use the steering wheel like this.
I'm like, look at me. I got the ride of the year. You know how you have that mindset that you're invincible and you're bigger than everything else. And then God finds a way to say, let me wake you back up. So being humble.
Yeah. I mean, we're flesh and blood. And we have to realize that no matter how big you get, no matter how small you are, there's a leveling up that takes place. And it's not always this way. Sometimes it's leveling down, but it clears your mind. And I would never say that I took my life for granted or thought that I was anything more than anyone else, because I don't believe in that. But what I would say is I was on such a routine of wake up at midnight, get downtown by 1 o'clock in the morning, prepare, get on the air, go do this, go do that, that a lot of my life just went by. I was telling my wife the other day, I don't really have a lot of friends. I know people, but I don't really have a lot of friends. And now you start to take stock at it and go, I need to make some friends. Now I have an opportunity to have more normalcy to my life. And if you want to go to the next chapter, and I'll tell you this, I got to go to the next chapter. I'm bills. That's the truth.
The bills don't stop.
I got bills. They don't stop, and they don't care. But when I look at going to the next chapter, I'm thinking, how can I also have the life of having friends and, being home for dinner, or, not falling asleep before dinner is served, and enjoying more time with my wife and visiting my kids. Those are the things now that I take into account as I move forward. Last summer 2024, I covered the Olympics in Paris.
Amazing.
And it was just incredible. And I'll get to that in a minute about at Channel 5. But being able to go was incredible. But for that first week, my wife was able to come with me. And so the first week, I basically shot stories that wasn't on the air yet. And she had never been out of the country. She had never had a passport before. And for her, it was this great adventure that we were able to have together to go to Paris. And she would go places with me, and she would, carry whatever I needed at the time, because I was doing all my own work while I was there.
Right.
But it was such an incredible bonding situation where we both discovered this country, this city, just by walking around and getting to know people. And I go, that's the way it should be. You shouldn't have to wait till you retire and you can barely get around to get around.
Right.
You should be able to get around, as often as possible. And maybe it's not the Paris. Maybe it's just coming to Florida. Maybe it's going to Alton. Maybe it's, just the little places.
Right.
And enjoying life a little bit more that way too. And when someone asked me about feelings on Channel 5, are you bitter? I go, no. Channel 5 is 21 of the greatest years of my life as far as the things I got to do and the people I got to meet and the opportunities that were presented to me. I could never look at that time as being bad or detrimental. It didn't end the way I wanted it to end. I mean, I would love to have had the retirement party and the balloons and everything else. It didn't happen. But just because that ending wasn't the best doesn't take away from everything that happened in 21 years prior to that.
Did you have a certain time frame in regards to how long you wanted to stay at Channel 5?
Remember that thing I said about bills? So when I look at my life, I wanted to get to at least 65 on the air and be able to look at the younger people and go, this is what it's like to have a full career. To go from, I started, I believe I started in 1987, so 38 years ago, and my math skills aren't that great, but I was in my 20s when I started. And to be able to go from my 20s to my 60s, not a lot of people are doing that anymore. If it's being done at all anymore. Exactly. I think most people, a max is going to be 10 to 15 years because of the burnout and things like that. And it's a shame because we have some outstanding journalists in this city, outstanding journalists, period. But you're being asked to do not just the television work, the website work, the Instagram, the TikTok, the vertical videos, the Facebook. You're constantly engaging in being a news source that you don't get a chance to really break away from it. And, you're constantly thinking, what's the next story? Where should I be? How many people are on my Facebook? Was that video watched and shared enough times? Everything is being measured.
And you just brought it up in regards to so many different social medias, but do you think that's also a huge factor on why maybe people don't look at the news as much, or people are getting let go?
Well, I don't know why people are being let go unless it's just a matter of revenue not being what revenue should be. The problem you have now is so when I was a kid, we had 3 channels: NBC, ABC, CBS. Yes. That was it.
Yeah. No
remote controls. You got up, walk across the room, turn the channel. Now, you got all these channels, but then you also have all these apps.
Right.
You have there's so much going on. You don't know where to go to watch what you want to watch. I was on YouTube yesterday and I'm looking at, how do you do podcasts? How do you do a YouTube channel? And the guy said that YouTube research is that 5 billion views on average per day worldwide on YouTube. So, that's all the videos, not just one video in particular. When you think about that size of an audience, there's no way an NBC, ABC, CBS can keep up with those types of things. And that's where people are trying to get on those channels, become this niche where people come to you because they like your information, like what you're doing. But there's so many choices. I was again going back to the podcast, and I'm Googling what's a podcast and who are the famous podcasts and all this. And the list is vast and there's so much. How do you choose? How do you decide I'm going to listen to this one or that one? And it could be a little daunting, but I don't know. I love what you're doing with this. I love the just cool, casual conversations.
Right.
That's nice.
Thank you.
I don't think you see that everywhere. I think a lot of it right now is political, but it's certainly a venture where it piques my interest.
Yeah. And it also, just to add on to that, don't try to be like someone else. Make it your own.
Right.
Because the more that you're just about you being you, and then you can continue, and you can add more things as you go.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Okay, well, now I've been used to doing this for so long, so I can add this into it now. I can add this feature, but it's still about you just being you,
right,
and making your own.
being authentic.
Being authentic.
And it sounds funny because we use that word authentic, and it was always just be yourself, just be yourself. But you know something? One of the hardest things to do is to be yourself. Because I think we always measure ourselves as, am I good enough? I may not be good enough. Do I look well enough? I don't look good enough. Yeah, you're constantly questioning who you are. So you tend to take on a persona or elements of other people, other things to kind of build yourself up. I'll have a little bit of this guy in me, a little bit of that guy in me. Now I can get up in front of the camera. The videos, there's one video I put on Instagram, the first one about leaving Channel 5. And I want to say it has like 300 some odd thousand views. I'm going, who are these people? Where are they coming from?
Right.
But all it was just me talking to the camera saying, this is what happened, you know? And I think just being honest and being straight with people makes a difference.
It does. It does. But we're here, like we said before, things happen for a reason. But we just keep on moving on.
Yeah.
Because like you said, it could be worse. But something else I want to bring up that I know the whole world wants to know about in regards to you, but talk about this.
My life,
Your
my life in burgers. You know, I don't know how it got started. Well, I could tell you how it got started. So I always would eat Big Macs when I'm earlier in life. Love Big Macs. Love the Whoppers. But then when I was in downtown St. Louis, you know, they don't have the fast food. So I ended up just going over to, I think it was Maggie O's was the first one I went to. It's like, oh, burger's great. Then someone said, oh, you got to go try this place. Oh, you got to go try that place. There's something about a hamburger. I don't know if it's the fact that you use your hands. I don't know if it's the meat, the cheese, the tomatoes, the pickles, the lettuce. It's just something about it. And then I found myself trying different places because each one did it a little different. And you'd be surprised to think that it's just a hamburger. You know, you slap it on the grill, you put it in the pan, whatever. But people do treat it differently, season it differently. Maybe it's a smash burger, maybe it's a thick burger. I was looking at an old video I did, I think it was like 2022, Uncle Lenny's. And I don't know if it's still there, Pontoon Beach, Illinois. Now, the Uncle Lenny's Challenge. It is basically 15 quarter pounders, but it's just one hamburger.
Jesus.
So it's two gigantic patties, this huge bun. And when you cut it, because you can't pick it up and eat it, so you cut it, it's like cutting slices off of a cake and pulling it out. So it's a challenge. You got to eat it. I think it's in 30 minutes to eat the thing. And I probably ate a quarter of it, maybe almost half, somewhere in there. I was sweating. All of a sudden, top of my head is sweating. And then 2 hours later, I was like, I'm never doing that again. My stomach, it wasn't that it hurt, but it was telling me, if you ever do that again, I'm leaving.
Jesus. My goodness. And I love me some burgers as well.
Yeah.
And a couple years ago, my wife and I went to Houston. We have family out there. So shouts out to my brother-in-law, sister-in-law, and others. And went to Bun B's restaurant, Trill Burgers.
Okay.
And when I say they have the smash burgers, and that made me love smash burgers even more. When I say it was so amazing. And matter of fact, we're going there in next week. We're going there for Thanksgiving week.
Just for the burger?
well, for Thanksgiving. Well, 2 weeks. 2 weeks from now, we'll be there. So for like 6 days.
Yeah.
So definitely got to go back there.
Gotta go.
Trill Burgers in Houston, smash burgers.
So have you been to LA?
It's amazing. I haven't. Actually, we was there, I want to say 3 years ago. But the problem was that was on the time where they had some unusual rain every day that we were there.
Happens.
It was in February.
Yeah, that happens.
And we went to see, the reason why it was a birthday gift, my wife got us tickets for Lakers and Warriors. So, you know, we went to that game, you know, LeBron played, AD played, unfortunately Steph Curry didn't play. But just going there was amazing. My first time going to, you know, back then it was Staples, now it's Crypto.
Right.
But every day after that, rain all
Ugh.
day. So we didn't see no sun the next 3-4 days we was out there. And I'm like, really? Now, I will say that I went there when I was much younger, not as a grown man.
Okay. Well, I asked because did you go to In-N-Out Burger? That was going to be my
we didn't
thing.
go there.
There was 2 places that when I was a kid, so I grew up in LA, that we would go to. In-N-Out Burger, which was down the street from the high school. So when I became a senior, we could go off campus, and just about every day we were down there. And, being a football player too, that was good to fill up on. And Fat Burger. So Fat Burger was this joint in Westwood that we would go to. There's a few, but there was one in Westwood we would go to. And they had like 15 different burgers on their menu. All of them incredible. Messy, but incredible, right. And so here locally, there's so many different places to go, so many different places that are known for their burgers. Like I love Jack Nolan's. I think that's one of the best places around. Max Local Eats is great too. But there's this guy over in Granite City, I think it's called Big Michi, who started out with a food truck and then got a brick and mortar. Okay. And he was just given the STL, what is it called? The list. Gosh.
Oh, yeah.
I'm thinking,
right. I can't recall.
I can picture the whole thing because I actually have made it myself. So he won 3 of the categories. And it's just a black guy that started his own little business with the food truck, who was given an opportunity on the food truck to do this. It became so popular, he opened up the brick and mortar. Not a big place, but the portions, the food, the burgers, gigantic. And I've got to go over there and do 1, a story with him and an interview with him, and 2, get the burger, because I just think that's going to be delightful. And I also like to see young people who took that leap of faith and said, this is what I want to do with myself, and then stick with it and get to that path of success. And hopefully it's something that grows and sticks, because, Granite City is one of those areas that's also hurting because of the steel mill and everything else. But it would be great to see this young man build something that, could be generational wealth, pass it down to kids and things like that.
Yeah. So with that being said, you brought up for the young kids, let's talk about yourself. I know it's been some time, but what can you recall about your childhood, and especially seeing this?
Wait, what do you mean by sometimes? You think I'm old?
Seeing this person right here.
Where are you getting all these pictures from? Off our Facebook page? Gosh, I think that was 2nd grade. Yeah, that's probably 1st or 2nd grade. That's when I lived in South Central Los Angeles, and the school was right across the street from our house, and so you were never late for school. And I remember wearing those, big flashy prints and the big butterfly collars and things like that. This was probably
fun times. Huh?
I was born in '64, so this is probably around 72, 71. Yeah, probably 71, and life was so much different then. So much different then. I remember my dad had a convertible Chevy Impala back in the day like that. I remember at that time of my life being in a earthquake, really big earthquake. Part of the school collapsed, and we, like I said, we lived right across the street, and so we're in the doorways. Everything's rattling and shaking. And I remember the next day going outside, and part of the school had collapsed. But those were the days that were the ones that rooted me in the value of hard work. So my dad, who's my greatest role model ever, and there's no one who will come close to him. He worked at UPS for, I think, 30 plus years. And he would work hard every day. He got all the way into management, yet he would still go back out on the trucks and help deliver packages during the Christmas seasons and things like that. He's the one that taught me that if you want things to happen for you in life, you can't sit back and wait.
Right.
You got to go make it happen. You got to work, and you need to provide for your family. He would always bring my mom home really nice stuff and things like that. We moved from South Central to Ladera Heights, which was a portion of, I guess, Inglewood. Went to Inglewood School District, which is across the street from the Forum, the LA Forum. When I was little, we would ride our bikes over to the Forum, wait for after practice to see the Lakers come out.
Oh, that's amazing.
So Kareem Abdul-Jabbar coming out, Happy Harrison just these icons of the game of that era and times. You're again talking about the 70s. We would see them, and it was the greatest thing to be around like that. But again, those are simpler times. When I went to high school, I started out at Inglewood High School, and that's when the gangs and stuff started getting a little much.
That's what I was going to ask you, because you said South Central. So
yeah.
I think about first the movie South Central.
Yeah.
And just
all that stuff's real.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you ever see Minister Society,
yes.
And he does that one scene where he kind of stomps the kid out. Okay, those are projects where my mom's best friend lived, and we would go there all the time. And my mother, she was younger then, so they would hang out, and we go outside and play and run up and down. But you would see things happening. You don't know what it is or why it is, but you would see things happening. My grandmother used to live in the middle of South Central LA, like the rough side, and following the remember Reginald Denny got beat in the intersection during the rioting, Rodney King?
Yes.
My grandmother worked in Beverly Hills at the Saks Fifth Avenue, but she lived in South Central. Ooh. And on her way home, she's coming down through those intersections, and everything is going on. And she goes, I just honked my horn and pumped my fist in the air, and they let me go on by. And I said, that's a wild times.
Yeah.
And when we would go visit my grandmother, we would always just be in the back of the house because you never knew what was happening out front. There could be a drive-by or something along those lines. So we would always be out in the back. But, I think one thing about growing up with all these different circumstances is it taught you to appreciate life, taught you to appreciate the abilities to uplift yourself, but it also taught you how to respect other people. That disrespect could get your life taken. Trying to be like this could get your life taken. So sometimes you just got to nod and keep moving. It's almost like you see the pit bull, you don't make eye contact, you just try to find a way to go. And that's what those days taught me, as well as knowing that you could be in that circumstance. And if you work hard enough, you can get out of that circumstance. And so I ended up moving out to Upland, California, which is out by San Bernardino and the foot of the mountains. Whole different world altogether.
So you the only child?
No. I have an older brother, Reggie. He is 4 years older than me. I've got a younger brother, Tyrone, who's 1 year younger than me. And then my sister, April, who is 5 years younger than me. And so my older brother lives in California in Corona, which is just outside of LA. My younger brother lives up in Green Bay. He used to coach with the Packers
nice.
A few years back. And then my sister lives in Las Vegas, where my parents had retired before they passed away. And then we're here. We've moved around. Well, my younger brother and I are probably the ones that moved around the most. So I grew up in LA, went to college in Oregon. My first TV job was in Oregon, and then I moved to Mobile, Alabama for the second one, Washington, D.C., and then here in St. Louis.
Wow, that's some journey.
Yeah.
Once again, this is Smoooth Conversations, where the conversations are always smooth. If y'all watching right now with this camera view, and if you see some fuzziness, I do apologize. Maybe there might be a slight connection issue, but on Rene's camera is crystal clear, so you're good to go. So once again,
I have no makeup on, by the way.
So once again, if for some reason this camera view right here is not as clear, I do apologize. Hopefully throughout this wonderful conversation that it will continue to improve. So how was, I had to ask the St. Louis question, even though you was born in LA.
Sure.
But what high school, once again, did you go to?
Oh, in LA?
Yes.
I went to two, Inglewood High School and Upland High School.
Okay.
So, when I first moved here, I always thought it was the weirdest thing. So where'd you go to school?
Right.
I go, I went to a small college in Oregon. So I learned, no, where'd you go to high school?
Right.
I go, you would have no idea high school because it's, in California. And it took so long to understand why people ask that question. And people always say, well, if somebody went to a certain school or school district, you sort of have an idea about them, how they were raised, what they believe in, values, X, Y, Z. I thought that's interesting that you do it by high schools, not by religions, not by neighborhoods, not by, family traditions or nothing like that, by the high schools. And I thought, that's just weird to
Right,
me.
right.
Now I just nod and go, yeah, I get it. I go, well, my kids went to the Parkway school, so they're Parkway Central grads. I say that to them. But the only place I've ever lived in my life where you went to high school was the question about where you went to school.
And what would you say was your biggest takeaway from being at both those high schools at that time?
The biggest takeaway, it's really was race relations. Okay. So Upland, all white. And I could show you our graduating class. We had these long panorama pictures we would take. You go up, sit in the football stands at the entire senior class. So we probably had a class of between 700 to 800 people, I would say. Now picture this. It's a picture. Everybody's on this picture. We go from one end of the bleachers to the other end of the bleachers, all the way up top, bottom. You would have to go like this to find the black kids in the senior class. And I want to say we probably had 7. And so you learned at that time, I was called the N-word, I don't know how many times from passing cars and things like that. And it was a different N-word because growing up in LA, going to the all black school.
It was
Yeah. I got it all the time too. So initially it didn't, I was like, whatever. But then I started to realize, well, wait a minute, that's not said the same way or with the same tones. But you learned how to move in certain environments. And I thank my dad for moving us out there because that's a lot of the world that you move through. And that if you never understand what the other side is like, then how are you going to move forward in the world and move? And I look even at where we grew up in LA and think if you don't know how to get along with the people who are the rough and tumble, the people who are just scratching and everything else, then you don't respect them. You don't respect the other side either. So you really have to find that medium where you get along or at least understand everybody involved, because that is the world that we live in.
And that's important that you say that, because I have a daughter who's 10 years old. Shouts out to Miracle, that's her name. She lives in Texas with her mom.
Okay.
And of course, I, would love to have her here at St. Louis, be, right next to me. I get her in the summertime and during the Christmas season. But I love the school that she's at, because as you just saying, you don't want to just be used to being around a certain type your whole life. It's good to have variety, to learn how to deal with so many different cultures. You know? So I think that's important for her, and she's been doing amazing at school, because of course it's the number one thing. So with that being said, being in South Central and then going to predominantly white school, culture shock. How were you able to adjust when that happened?
Football. So people ask me all the time about, what do you think about football? Football to me is the greatest sport. That was college. That's when a mustache. But when you play football, no matter if you like the person or don't like the person, we all have a common goal.
Yes.
Next thing you know, you've bonded with this person that you started out like, I hate that guy. Next thing you know, he's your best friend because he did something for you. He bled for you. He sweated for you. He went through all those workouts, practices. He was there on the football field. So football gave me that ability to bond, get friends, and that sort of protection helped you advance through. In other words, I had that confidence from that I can then walk the hall and not have to worry about somebody going to say something or do something to me. They knew me for being that football guy.
It reminds me of the movie with Denzel as a coach.
Oh, remember the times? Yes. Yeah. And I wouldn't say it was totally like that, but in some ways it was like that, where you had to prove yourself. And I'm sure that in the early goings, I was treated differently. I think at the time there was probably only 2 black guys on the team, and I was, as a sophomore, was on varsity and JV. But by the time I graduated, I was team captain and starting on both sides of the football and had a scholarship to go to college. And so I look at it as it's almost like basic training in a way. You fight, battle, and scratch and claw, get your way through all that. You could pretty much take on anything else.
So you mentioned, of course, sports, but what made you want to get into broadcasting?
So my senior year of college was not the year I thought it was going to be. I was an NAIA All-American my junior year at running back. And so I'm thinking we're going to be an NFL player, you're going to be able to make it that far. But then my senior year, I was just getting beat up left and right. The love of the sport wasn't what it was anymore. And I also realized too that I was not going to be that guy that was mind, body, and soul into this. That's when I started to pay more attention to studies and the books. And I took this class called Television News. And during that, I took an internship at the local TV station. And I realized that I had an opportunity to still be connected to sports, but not have to take the beatings and the pain and the workouts and all of that. I was still lifting, but you're not out there sweating in the middle of the daytime and all that to try to get faster. It gave me an appreciation to then go and talk to athletes so I could say, hey, look, I want people to know your story from your angle, not from the stands going, that guy is a slouch. No, that guy might be hurt. He might be going through something. I want to help the athlete relate to the fan and the fan relate to the athlete. And so when I first started in Medford, Oregon, actually the summer of '87, before I got out of school and I started with the paying job, it really showed me how much fun television could be, because you could tell these stories and there's video and everything else. And at the time, there's only 3 stations.
Right.
So everybody was being watched, and in some ways to sort of become not celebrity, but that guy on TV, that was kind of cool. You're in your 20s and people in the grocery store recognize you for being the guy on TV. That was pretty cool. And then you felt comfortable, again, goes back to that comfort zone of going into places with a confidence, because you feel like you've accomplished something, that people now know who you are and you're doing what you want to do and how you want to do it.
So talk about that support. So once you told your family, friends about you taking up this career, what was their response, and what was the support that you got from them?
It's interesting because my parents living in Los Angeles didn't get to see me on television until they came to visit. So my wife, we'd just gotten married in the summer, June 27th, 1987.
Yeah, because she is watching.
Remember that day. We got married, and at the time, you're just married. I was working at the grocery store and I was interning. Well, I had ended up anchoring on the air for like a week because the one sports guy had left and took a job in Boise. And then the other sports guy's mom had passed away, so he left. They had no one left. I ended up going on the air. So I did the shows for like a week, and there was this outpouring. So when I got done with school, I got the job at the Crosstown station. And, my wife was, to this day, very supportive of everything. And she made more money than I did at that point, because I would get paid, it was $500 every 2 weeks with overtime. I was making $4.92 an hour in television. Greatest thing. Apartment paid for, go out, go get beers and things like that. Funnest times ever. And I look back at it and go, why did those days ever have to end? You start chasing the brass ring, and you got to realize that you might grab it, but is it everything you always wanted? You're going to look down and go, I kind of miss those times, miss that time.
Right.
But no, the family has always been extremely supportive of everything. And I think my dad, it was interesting after we had kids and then I became like a father, my father treated me differently. And we were more like peers then. We would talk. And I think, I think he's very proud of what I was able to achieve. And to me, it's the one thing that makes you smile the most, is that during his lifetime, he saw his son go to college, do well in sports, and then also launch a career and start a family. And I'm just glad that happened during his lifetime. He never did get to see me here in St. Louis. He had passed away in April of 2004 and was not well enough to come here to actually see me.
So you mentioned how you pretty much bounced from this state to that state to that state to that state to eventually coming here to St. Louis. How hard was it for you and for your family to keep making those adjustments as you're trying to continue on with your career?
It wasn't too hard because, in the beginning, it's just me, my wife, and we had 2 Basset Hounds. And we, get a U-Haul, drive from Medford, Oregon to Mobile, Alabama, start a new life, get a new apartment. When we moved to Washington, D.C., my son was a year and a half old, maybe. Again, it's kind of fresh. I was 27, so those are kind of the expectations. But when I was there, that's when you kind of get accustomed to that lifestyle. And being in Washington, D.C., and being one of the main anchors, you were like a celebrity. So I would go to the mall and I would sign autographs. We didn't have cell phones to take pictures and things like that. Right. I was sending autographs. I would come out of a football game with the other professional football players, and I'd be signing autographs as if I just played the game too. But I had a page in the program with my picture on it, and I just signed the picture. And so you get kind of like, whoa, this is really cool. You get accustomed to that lifestyle. But the problem with that lifestyle is it's fleeting, because it's all about being seen and being in certain places and driving a certain this. I used to drive a Mercedes, and I believe the price of the Mercedes, the monthly payment was nearly the price of the mortgage, because I had to have this car because of who I was. People need to see me.
An image.
Yeah. And it was nice for the time period, but you weren't driving that car for you.
And you were stressed.
Yeah, but that little car you saw that was beat up?
Right.
That's the car I've had the most fun in. I love the most, because that was just for me. The other cars was for an image and everything else. Then when I came here, this change up was about community. It's like, what? All this time was about, look at me, and hey, they're going into Morton's and they're over here at Ruth Chris and they're going to this club and that club. And then I came here, it was about block parties, Friday night football games, weekend soccer games, going to people's houses for potlucks and things like that. It was community.
Yeah.
And I think that was the biggest change of my life, where the concentration of me dissolved more into us.
So talk about having that door open for you, because so many people, they just always say, you know what, if I just get that door open for me, I'll do the rest. I just need an opportunity, that chance. He said that you did an internship when you first started off. So just talk about that feeling of finally having that door open for you and having that opportunity. And then part two, taking the leap of faith.
Yeah, I think the opportunity was different then, because I think we were always taught that, you go to school, you get a job, you work. So in the beginning, it was just like, I just got the job, and I got the job in the career that I chose. So that's the bonus. But I had a job, I could pay for things. And I was looking at it more that way in the beginning. But when the opportunity came up, I remember I got a call from the ABC station in Medford, Oregon, because it just got an opening because one of the guys got into an altercation. So they fired him. And they knew about me because I had gone and played football in town, and now I'm over here doing TV. Hey, come on over, let's talk. And I got the job, and it's like, oh, this is great. But I think the job that really blew me away was the first time I went to Washington, D.C. So here I am, 26 years old at the time. I fly up to D.C. for an interview, only the third time in my life I've been on an airplane. And you're driving around. I remember I'm in Mobile, Alabama, which is a little town, not little town, but smaller market. And you come to this major market. You're driving through Rock Creek Park and you're seeing all this stuff. You watch the TV, you see the set, oh my gosh, this is incredible. This is Hollywood in many ways. And so that move there was the one where you go, this is the leap of faith, because I'm 27. Because when I was hired, I was 27. You're jumping into something where people are older, more experienced, more seasoned. You're going to get a pay raise to go do it. But if you can't do it, what are you going to do now? You've got to bust your hump. So I was trying to do things that no one else was doing at the time, spending a lot of time in high school sports and things like that to be more community oriented. But it was a leap, because now it's not just me. It's not just my wife. I also have a son. And so now you're taking care of a family. Can you do this? So we get there. My salary doubled coming from Mobile. I'm thinking, all right, we got this. We get a townhouse to rent. And I think I got my first check, and my wife just started bawling.
Wow.
Because she can't believe that it was only that much. And it was so much more expensive living in Washington, D.C. It took, I want to say it took 2 years before I got enough money to where you felt like you could have a lifestyle as well as pay for things. So the struggle was real. And the struggle was one where, okay, if you really push, you can do enough to take care of the family. But if you don't, you're either going to be struggling or you got to go back where you were.
And with that, was there a moment in your career where it no longer felt like a job, but it felt like, you know what I'm saying? You know how certain jobs you be like, gotta go to work, here we go. But then you had those certain things, your passion. Was there a certain moment where it stopped being, gotta go into the work, to now I'm fulfilling my passion?
Can I be honest with you about that one? Never once did it feel like work. From day one to the last day, never once did it feel like work. It felt like there was added responsibilities as it went on, but I'd always looked at the responsibilities as opportunities. So when they said, okay, you got to start doing vertical videos or you got to start posting on Facebook, and I remember getting on Twitter the first time. I was on my way to the Olympics in 2012 in London. Twitter, what's that? You know, I get, go ahead. And then you start doing it and it becomes fun. You start growing this audience of people listening to you and you make this connection. But I always look at it as new opportunities. And so I never thought, I got to go to work. So I would go to bed when I was doing the morning show between 4 o'clock and 5:30. I'd wake up at midnight. I would leave my house at 12:30. I get to work at 1 o'clock in the morning. It never felt like a drag. Like, this is what we do. This is what I do. Let's go. You know, they always had this energy when I would walk in. People,
it's amazing.
People freak out when I said, I used to wake up at midnight. What?
It's amazing you bring it up because you may not have noticed because, of course, you know, you have such a busy schedule and social media. But I've been actually trying to have this man on my sports talk show for years. And I feel like I almost got there, but then didn't. You know, I never got any response back. But then I'm very big on being persistent. Especially when you know
you have to be.
It's someone that you know it would be great for the show to get their story and have those conversations. You know, so once again, that's why I appreciate you being on today. Because like I said, I've been trying for years and I believe in something. I keep going and keep doing it and being persistent because you just never know. You know, some people may say, oh, if you just go to this person or go that route, whatever, or take that route. Sometimes you try that and it doesn't work. But if you believe in something, you just keep on going.
Well, I'll be honest about something with me. And this is probably because I don't keep track of stuff. I lose track of stuff so easily. So right now I get messages. I'll get a text message or I get an email message or I get a Facebook message, you know, Instagram. So throughout my day, I'm constantly on the phone because I'm trying to make sure I haven't missed somebody's message.
Right.
And that's difficult. And so, you know, I try to keep a calendar going so I know what events I need to go do. I try to keep a calendar going so I know I've got this interview to go do. But those are new things in my life. And I missed out on several story opportunities because I told someone, hey, yeah, I want to do that, but never got back to them. And that hurts me because now, being in the position I'm in now, you hope and pray that people get back to you, that you're not just hanging. And now I'm looking back and I feel bad about situations because I'm thinking, you didn't get back to that person back in 2017. You didn't get back. And so that, who knows, you could have changed that person's life by simply giving them words of encouragement or whatever, or words of, oh, we don't want to do that. You know, sometimes telling the person to make a left instead of a right is right.
Exactly.
So I'm treating that differently now as far as getting back to people and making sure that if anything, I let them know I got your message. Let me check my calendar. If you haven't heard back from me, you know, send me another message or whatever. I think more people have my phone number now than I've ever given it out to before. Because it helps me keep track of who someone is, because now I got the caller ID and everything else coming up. So I know exactly what they need or what I need from them.
So talk about, and actually before I go there, once again, this is Smoooth Conversations, where the conversations are always smooth. I hope y'all have been enjoying so far this conversation. I am Smooth with 3 O's. Got the one, the only Mr. Rene Knott, and just having a great conversation. Continue to like, continue to share. Please feel free to leave comments. And if I approve, I'll have it on the screen so we can interact with you.
Has anybody asked about my black socks?
Not yet.
So I gotta clarify the black socks. So earlier today, I emceed an event at 18 Rails. So I had on a different pair of Jordans. I had on a black suit, so I wore black socks. Well, when I got home and changed to come here, I just put on the hoodie and jeans and I left the socks on. So when I put my leg up, I was like, oh man.
Let's see. Hold on. Here we go. Let's go ahead and show them off real quick.
There you go. Well, my kids are very, I wouldn't say critical, but they like to rib their dad from time to time. And a lot of times I'll wear a suit and I'll wear white socks with my sneakers. Because I always like to wear sneakers. And they're like, you don't wear the white socks, wear the da-da-da. And I'm going, okay, but this is my style, not your style. So, but they go, but you're our dad. So we don't want you looking bad when you're out there. And so that's why I put on the black ones today. And now I'm thinking, I should have changed.
And then once again, as I was saying before, if for some reason this camera angle, the main cam is looking kind of fuzzy, maybe a certain connection going on. So I do apologize. But the other cam that's showing our special guest is very clear, high depth. So once again, I do apologize for.
Is that high depth?
For that.
Right here. Was like, oh man, look at that. I should have gone to the barber. Look at that. Oh my God. I need to get trimmed.
Okay, going on over here.
What's crazy about this is that I cannot grow this.
But you can.
I can get stubble through there. I can grow this, but it doesn't grow. It's like I don't shave it the way I should because if I do, it takes so long for it to come back.
Wow.
So all of this between this and this started in 2016. I had blood clots in my lungs for about a 3-year period of time, to the point where I was told I could have died at any minute. I mean, I horribly, what they call it, severe case of blood clots. And I couldn't breathe, I couldn't move very much. I was very heavy, bloated, but it was mainly just water weight that I kept on because your blood flow isn't there. My heart pressures were increasing. And so after I had this surgery, so I had a 9-hour surgery. It's called a PTE surgery. I had to go to San Diego for at the time. And basically it's open heart. So they open you up and then they scrape the clots out of your lungs. And it takes 9 hours to have this done. Well, then after that, it was like this renaissance for me where I was out of work for probably 6 weeks of recovery. I started shaving my head and then I didn't shave. So this came in and my wife liked it and I kept it, and the station never said shave it. So I kept it the way it was. But then after a while there, I wanted it thicker so I wouldn't trim it down. And I used to go to a person all the time to get it done, trimmed it up. And then the prices, man, are you kidding me?
Right.
$20, $30. I go to trim my beard. I didn't say grow my beard. I just want you to trim it. And then I'm afraid to touch it because I don't want to start going. And next thing you know, it's gone because I'm trying to trim it a little bit here, a little bit there. But this is from my renaissance in life, starting off the new me.
So you mentioned 2004 was when you moved to St. Louis. How did that happen?
Oof. So I was working for the ABC affiliate in Washington, D.C., and my contract was about to come up. So it was coming up in January of 2004. And I started talking to the CBS station at the time. We'd gone to lunch a couple of times. And at that moment, it was owned by Gannett. And so Gannett, which is now Tegna, also owned Channel 5 and some other places. So the contract I was being offered was a great contract, but not what the other person was ready to give me. So now I'm trying to be businessman, right? I don't have an agent, it's just me. And I think thinking too much of my worth bit me in the butt. So my station said, well, you better sign this contract. If not, we're taking it back. Well, this guy over here is not ready to draw something up yet. So instead of doing the bird in the hand, I went for the 2 birds in the bush, okay? Well, the 2 birds in the bush never panned out. The bird in the hand took their contract back and offered me another one. It wasn't half, but close to half. I go, I can't live like that. So I went back over here and he said, well, you know, what we have right now is we just hired an anchor from the Fox affiliate. She can't work for 6 months because of non-compete. If you came here, you can't work for 6 months because of a non-compete. We can't pay both of you not to work. I'm sorry. That was Thanksgiving weekend of 2003. So imagine Thanksgiving weekend, families there, and you're like holding this into yourself going, I don't know what I'm going to do now. So the guy with the Gannett station calls and says, what do you think about St. Louis? And I said, right now I'm willing to go wherever I need to go. And I had gone to cover the Washington football team, NFL team in Chicago on a Sunday. And I flew from Chicago to St. Louis, interviewed on Monday, and then was offered the job later that week.
Wow.
And changed everything about my life. And what was interesting was that same week that I came back before I was offered the job, I had a run through at the Fox station, Channel 5 there, to be their morning anchor. Well, I get the contract back from Channel 5. I signed to Channel 5 here and I send it off. That night, the woman at the other station, the general manager or the news director calls, leaves a message saying that her and the general manager want to go to lunch and they want me to be their new guy and we're going to do whatever it takes to get you here. Now, at the time, I probably could have called Channel 5 here and said, hey, I got something going on here and don't have to relocate my family. Everything would have been fine. But to me, I said, I signed that paper. I got to honor that paper. And so we moved and came here. And in retrospect, it was probably the greatest thing I ever did was to come here for family and everything else.
And with your previous news stations, were you doing just sports or were you doing all? Okay.
Just sports.
Okay.
Just sports. I started out. So when you begin, you do everything. So I was a cameraman. I was the editor. I was the writer. I was a reporter. I was a producer. I was the anchor. You do everything. When I went to Mobile, Alabama, I was the anchor, the reporter, and I could edit. When I went to Washington, D.C., I was the anchor. I could anchor, I could write, I could do, the specials and all that, but I could not edit. I could not shoot a camera, all union. When I came here, that was the same way in the beginning. But then over the course of time, we were able to do more and more and more. In other words, I could now edit, I could now shoot the cameras and all that, which to be honest with you, I enjoy doing because I love the idea of creating everything myself. It was never a burden or anything along those lines. It was just like, okay, you got to be creative now to get this done. And I had these little cameras in the last year and a half that really helped me do things the way I wanted to do them. But it changed a lot, and it's changed even more so now. But there were the days where I didn't do anything but just walk into the station, write up the show, go out there and read it, go to dinner, come back into the next one.
Yeah. So you've had an incredible run at Channel 5 since 2004, which actually was the year that the Cardinals went to the World Series and one of the best teams ever and lost against the Red Sox. We were like, what
I was there.
The hell?
I was there. So being in Washington, D.C. at the time, we didn't have baseball.
Yeah.
So my baseball in D.C. was covering the Baltimore Orioles. So I was there the night that Cal Ripken Jr. broke Lou Gehrig's record.
Wow.
Grown men crying. It was the most incredible night you could ever be a part of.
That's what's up.
So when I came here, you started covering the team firsthand. And it was very different because the fans here with the Cardinals are so entrenched, not just in the present day, but in the former days. And they know everything and they compare this person to that person. And so you got to do your research. You got to be up on all the stuff. But that first year here was incredible. So it's 2004. That marks the 100th anniversary of the Olympics here in St. Louis. So I went to Athens, Greece, to cover the Olympics there because of the 1-year anniversary, plus, being an NBC station. We had, I think, like 2 Olympic trials here. I believe we had the diving and we had the Olympic marathon trials here. So you covered that. I ran with the torch down Forsyth with the Olympic torch. So I go to the Olympics. We don't even talk about the Rams. But
who? No.
I go to the Cardinals, and so the Cardinals at the time, Albert signed that new contract that summer. So I'm there for the $100 million contract that Albert signs. this kid named Yadier Molina started coming up because Mike Matheny was still the catcher at the time. So you watch all of this develop, and they make the World Series. I remember they qualified for the World Series. We're like, you know, the champagne and all that. And I think 2 days later, the next day, we fly to Boston. We get to Boston. Horrible weather. It was like this mist and drizzle. It was gross. We had an hour show to do that we really didn't get to fully prepare for. So we just do the hour show. I think it worked out well. And then they just were not good. They were not good in the World Series.
Because that was the year that Chris Carpenter got hurt,
Mm-hmm.
and that affected the whole energy of the team. It was like, our biggest piece, especially one of our leaders, was gone, and it kind of sucked the energy out from that series. And even though we almost could have won game one, we was almost there, and that could have maybe changed the whole series. And yes, I am going to my platform sports talk show vibe right now, but we were right there.
Live it. Well,
but then it just spiraled.
But that's the reality of sports. And sports is reality TV when you put it all together.
And I say that all the time for my sports talk show. I say sports is the ultimate reality show.
Yes. There is no written outcome.
Exactly.
The outcome becomes what the outcome is at the outcome.
Even though we've been seeing some stuff come out about betting that's been really hurting the sport.
Well, I'm shocked that anyone's even surprised that that's the case.
Right.
Okay. What did you think was going to happen?
Right.
You know, these are humans, and they get into troubles, and they can get themselves out of troubles by doing certain things. But I don't think anybody realized that the eyes were going to be on them as tightly as they are. Mm-hmm. And what it is if they're throwing pitches over here, and then they look at the betting line and realize, well, something that's connected, they're going to figure it out. You know, think about the referees in the NBA that got busted for gambling.
Right.
Think about, was it Arizona State way back in the day that got busted for
saw that.
So, you know, this is not shocking and surprising to anybody. But the players involved need to understand that they can find you. They will catch you. And it's such big money that they are going to find you. Yes. Because that's a part of the whole process too.
And as you saw in these reports, that it may not be right away.
Mm-mm.
Like the Chauncey Billups case, it took like 5 years, and now here we go.
We're going to build a case.
Yeah.
They're going to build a case. It's not like somebody kicked down the door. You happen to be there holding the cards.
Right.
They'll let you hold the cards for a while. Let you win a few pots.
Yeah.
Come back a couple of weeks.
So talk about, because I know you had the experience previously. I mean, even like looking at this photo here and how your career has allowed you to meet so many amazing people. Like, this the White House, you got Cal Ripken. And I mean, you was looking pretty small.
I was a much younger man there, So, gosh, is it 2001, 2002, 2000? Somewhere in there, I get a call from the White House. Actually, my wife got the call from the White House, calls me and goes, the Secret Service for the White House wants you. And I go, I didn't do anything. So I call, and they wanted me to be the announcer for the T-ball game on the White House lawn. They had just brought it back.
Wow.
And George Bush was the president, W. And so, oh, wow, this is cool. All right. So I come, and Cal was the commissioner of this particular situation. And I knew Cal already from his days with the Orioles and being around him and all of that. One of the greatest guys you can ever meet when it comes to somebody of that stature. And we go, and, you know, I introduced the president, ladies and gentlemen, the president of the United States. He comes out and I introduce the teams, and then he turns and he goes, I just want to say thank you to Rene for being here. One of my favorite guys. I'm like, oh, and I'll grant that someone probably told him all the lines, but I mean, I kept that tape. I kept that tape forever. And I just thought, okay, you made it. The president knows who you are now. So finally you're on top of it all. And the DC days afforded so many opportunities, not just for me, but for my family to be a part of stuff. So one of the biggest moments for me and my son was taking him to a Lakers shoot around against they were the Washington Bullets at the time. And I told him, I said, I want you to have 3 questions ready. Because at the end of shoot around, we're going to go get Kobe. Sure enough, in the shoot around, we go round to the buses, and here comes Shaq, right? And my son was a big Shaq fan. And so he had one of those little disposable cameras in his pocket. And Shaq reaches down in his pocket. His hand is as big as my son's upper body. He pulls out his camera and, we take the picture. And then Kobe comes around and I said, hey, this is my son. You mind? Kobe's just a rookie. You mind if he could ask you 3 questions? And, he had his 3 questions and he did this and put the mic up to Kobe. But Kobe answered everything. And I just looked back at it the other day because you could actually, I put it, not searched YouTube on it, I would say Google it, but I searched YouTube and it came up. And I was like, wow, the respect that I had for Kobe was already here. But when I watched that again, it went to here. Because he could have said, no, look, man, I got a basketball game to play and all that. But he stopped because I think he realized that he was that little boy at one time in his life. And let me give you that time. And when Kobe died, I was at the gym and I came home. My son was still living with us at that point. And I was like, what's wrong? Because I could tell he had CNN on and he realized the helicopter had gone down. And my son was really upset for probably 3 days. I mean, I know at least that whole weekend because Kobe was such an important part of his upbringing. And it's just, you get to be around people like that and you sort of take it for granted because it's your job. But then you start to realize, too, the influence that they have on young people and young minds and really on cultures. And you take a step back and go, you're pretty privileged to have these positions. Now, granted, it's work, but you could be doing a lot of other things for work. And always had some fond memories of meeting some people.
So going back to being an anchor, first off with sports, talk about the biggest difference, or is there a different feeling when you're in the studio behind the desk or when you're doing boots on the ground and reporting, being out there in the streets or in schools or in different venues, etc.?
Well, you really went through all the pictures, didn't you? I love doing the live reports because, all of it's live. But I love being in the field because you get a feeling for what's going on around you. You could really give the people who are watching the firsthand knowledge of the scene. And so this was at the Urban League 2 weeks after the tornado, and people were still coming through to get groceries and things like that, PPE and everything else, even the boards to board up their windows. And so we were live there because we were going to be a part of the campaign to kind of help people give back. And then to be there to see the people come in. And what people don't realize is it was everybody that was coming in. It wasn't just people who didn't have anything. People were driving up in Cadillacs. They were driving up in Mercedes-Benzes because they had lost their homes and they needed help. Didn't matter what your income was. You had to have help. And to see this, and then to see the people who were coming, so people who were in need were coming this way, people who were donating were coming that way. And to see the two sides, you're going, this is beautiful. This is the way it should be. And so I love being out and being able to cover stuff live. And I think that comes back from sports, because in sports, in those days, you had to be on the scene. When the Cardinals were in the World Series, when the Rams were in the playoffs, whatever it is, you had to be there because you got to capture all of those moments and bring it back to St. Louis. You need to talk to the people who did or didn't do whatever you thought should have been done for that particular moment. You needed to capture it and summarize it and then deliver it to the audience too. I always enjoyed being on the scene because it gave me an opportunity to not just look at the play, but then get the reaction from the crowd too and go, okay, I see what they don't like, what they do like, and how they feel the team is disappointing them or uplifting them. I think going to the parade for the Stanley Cup was one of those moments that is hard to describe because everybody was so far uplifted with that parade and to be a part of it and the way the team treated it too. You had to be there to really be able to, let people know what it was like.
So going back to my sports talk real quick, everyone, you brought up earlier the vibe from being in California and then coming to St. Louis. 2-part. What is the biggest difference that you can tell when you arrive at St. Louis and the crowd and their love for sports compared to in California? And second part, with everything that we're going through right now, with the Cardinals looking at a rebuild. They don't want to say it, but a rebuild. The
Mhm.
Blues a slow start to the
Mhm.
season, having a bad ending to last year. Battlehawks getting close, but can't get over the hump. CDSC the last 2 years looking down. Mizzou can't find a way to get into the playoffs. So it's kind of like there's this dark cloud going on in St. Louis. So once again, your thoughts on the love that St. Louis has to their sports teams compared to what you see in California?
Unmatched. All right. California. So I haven't lived in California in so long that I really don't relate to it. I could relate back to, say, Washington, D.C. and the way they treated the team. So they treated the Commanders, which had a different name at the time. Right. That was like a college football team. The way the people bonded with that team, and they had a band and they had cheerleaders and everything else. They knew all the players, all the history. So they're the equivalent the Cardinals are here. But the level of Cardinal love, I don't think is matched anywhere. And I've been in a lot of places and met a lot of fans from in different cities because it's generational. You've got granddads that have taken the sons that have taken the grandsons, and then that grandson grows up and brings it in. And when you go there, it's like the happiest place on earth until, of course, you get to the end of the game and it goes one way or the other. So to see an empty stadium was unimaginable to me. When you saw it was like 20,000 people went to one of the games there. It was one of the lowest crowds ever, or the lowest crowd ever. And I was, wow, what has happened to this team? And you talk about the rebuild and all that. Well, here's why the team is where the team is. Name me the leader of that team. Name me the guy that everybody else has to answer to. Name me the player that is feared. Name me the player that you stop and watch their at bat. Name me the player that you go, I gotta go watch this guy as a starting pitcher. Okay, so go back over that team from 2004, 2006, 2011. You knew that there were people you had to go see. You had to see Chris Carpenter pitch. You had to be there when Wainwright was on top of his game. Albert Pujols, come on, give me a break.
Seeing Edmonds in the outfield.
Edmonds in the outfield. Just go up and down the roster and everything else. Now you look at the roster. First, you don't know who these people are, half of them. So many of them are so disappointing because they'll have this breakout moment, this breakout game.
And then you don't see it again. 2 or 3 weeks, striking out most of the time.
Or injured. Yeah. Or sent down. Yeah. Something like that. Well, we had like two Gold Glove winners, 1 Silver Slugger. Well, gosh, man, we used to do so much better than that. Yeah. So much better than that. And I'm not going to fault Marmol. I'm just faulting the system. And they never.
Thank you for saying that.
You never reestablished.
Thank you for saying that.
Who's your Albert Pujols when Albert is done?
Thank you for saying that.
You had years to prepare for the next Albert Pujols. You had years to prepare for the next Yadier Molina. You had pitchers and all this. Whatever you were doing wasn't working. So now you're in the position you're in now. Not to say it can't be duplicated, but that farm system better be damn good. And I think your abilities to wheel and deal better go way up. That's one of the greatest thing about Walt Jocketty.
Right.
Man, Walt could wheel and deal. He would bring people in.
And I was saying that on the show last night. I was saying that one of the biggest things that I missed from the early years of Mozeliak, was that he was able to make those shrewd moves where you be like, where'd this come from? Yeah. How he do that? Yeah. Wow.
Remember he traded away David Freese?
Yes.
And then Freese comes back and he ends up being this guy. It's all these things that take place. It's like chess moves.
Yes.
Well, now they're playing checkers.
Right.
Okay. Right. They're just doing this. They need to be more strategic and be thinking down here. Well, the problem with thinking down here is the fan base ain't waiting around for you to get down here. The fan base wants opening day to give them all the thrills that opening day is supposed to give them and the hope and the promise, and then we move forward.
Speaking of that, and my wife would tell you, I've been to like maybe 8 to 9 opening day games in a row until this past year. I knew then that something wasn't right when I didn't want to really go.
It wasn't and the thing about opening day, it was always sort of the pageantry of it all, the Clydesdales, the Hall of Famers, the convertibles and everything else. But as the Hall of Famers have passed away, that legacy starts to get lost and missed.
And who's gonna be that bridge?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, all you have right now, you really think about it when it comes to, we have Ozzy,
Really?
and and Simmons, and you think about the Redcoats now that they have, the team Hall of Famers.
Right.
I guess that carries about some tradition.
Right.
I don't even know how much these guys in the dugout know much about the guys out there in those red jackets.
Mm-hmm.
Have they really studied? And probably they do. I don't want to take away from them, but right now I don't know. I don't know how they treat them or how the players look at what was done before them. But they've got to learn that thing about the traditions and the respect and what they need to live up to. You got to live up to those 11 world championships. This just ain't playing baseball in St. Louis.
Mm-hmm. So going back to your time in Channel 5, once again, amazing career. How did it come from sports to you being a regular anchor and now you're doing just news?
So when I came back from surgery, which was 2016 in it was September, I was doing, come back doing sports. And I really couldn't do a whole lot. I was working half a day because I couldn't really breathe or move. I was still really sore. Well, then when I did start moving around more and I would go and, you go to the clubhouse and you got to beg somebody to do an interview, whatever. And I thought, I'm getting a little old for that. Or you're around the athletes, you don't really feel like you relate to them as much anymore. And I remember one day saying something to the news director about, if I could fill in doing a newscast every once in a while, that'd be kind of cool. And she said, okay, well, I'll try to add you to rotation. Why don't you go out there and try a couple of times? So I went out and, I did a couple of run throughs, whatever. And, that was it. But then when Allie was hired, so Allie Corey was there as a freelance reporter / anchor. Well, then when she got hired as an anchor, they asked me if I go out there and read with her one day. They just want to see what the chemistry might be. Read with her one day in late afternoon, and the next day they said, we want you to put the two of you together to become the new morning anchor team. And I thought, okay. And I think from I wouldn't say day one, probably day 90, hit it off because there was a lot of hiccups for me. I'd never done that type of news before, that much reading before. But over the course of time, when we meshed, I think we had a really good team. And in 2018, in May of 2018, we were the #1 rated morning show, which hadn't been done in like 10 years for Channel 5. So that's always a big feather in the cap to me. Like, wow, you're able to make it. But the friendships that we had extended beyond the news set. So we would all go and get beers together in the afternoon. We were day drinkers because, we worked all night. So we would go get beers together and go home, whatever, or we would meet up at certain places over the weekend and things like that. We had a great bond besides just being coworkers.
And that's what I was going to ask you next, because as I said before, I have the Platform Sports Talk Show Network. So the panelists I have, I don't even call them my friends or associates. I call them family.
Yeah.
Because we always in chats.
Mm-hmm.
We always, either see each other, one show or another. We remind each other. So we're family. What's the biggest thing you're going to miss from your time being on Channel 5?
Well, there's a lot of things I miss, but I think the #1 thing I miss right now is the creativity of storytelling. Being able to go and meet people and tell their stories and just be inspired by average people who are doing extraordinary things that really no one knows about because they do it in this bubble, so to speak. To meet people who work 9 to 5 jobs, but then at night they do something else. They're photographers or they play on a sports team, full contact. The St. Louis Slam, the women's football team.
Yes.
To know that these are women playing a professional sport, full contact football, winning back-to-back national championships. Oh, by the way, they have day jobs. So the one woman we had on to talk about the team's success, she's a paramedic over in Granite City.
Mm-hmm.
And let me get this right. You're a paramedic Monday through Friday, and then on the weekends, you play full-fledged tackle football. Yeah.
And don't forget some are mothers.
Some are moms. It just goes to show you that they're everyday people doing extraordinary things. The amount of people I've met who do art. I think art's one of the most beautiful things on the face of the earth because it allows us to carry on our cultures, express ourselves, find a confidence, find an outlet. And that graffiti wall is always one of my favorite stories of the year, to go down there the week that they're doing Paint Lewis. And to see these massive pieces put together. I just love telling the stories of the people who do it, because not all of them are full-time artists.
Right.
They do something in the garage or in the basement from time to time, maybe go do an art gallery show in Clayton or Belleville or whatever to sell some of their pieces, but they have day jobs. But they never give up their passion. They never give up that thing that drives them.
One of the panelists from Ladies Night, her name is Annie. She's a 3-time slam champion.
Really?
So yeah, so
wow.
I've had the slam team on the platform sports talk show last year. It was after they won their championship, and they just won again a few months ago.
Yeah.
So yeah,
you know what's funny about that last win? They played the DC Divas.
Yeah.
So the DC Divas, the general manager of the DC Divas, used to be my producer when I was in Washington D.C. So he was giving me grief that whole week beforehand. Oh man, I can't believe you guys are good. I go, I've never seen them play, but it looks like they're pretty good. And sure enough, that game was on, I think it was ESPN, and it really was a good game.
Because
There's some great hitting.
The first half, DC was looking good.
Yeah.
But then they had like a long delay.
Yep.
And then they came back and the Slam woke up and took care of business.
Yeah.
So congratulations to the Slam. But going back, I'm very big on acknowledging the hard work that you put in and then getting the reward for it. Your feeling when you realize that you won not just one, not just two, but 3 Emmys.
Yeah.
Talk about that feeling.
So the first one, I'll never forget, because I was actually one of the presenters. So I'm in Washington, D.C. And in Washington, D.C., I may have been 30 years old, 31 years old. I was still fairly young. And I was one of the presenters. And so I'm backstage. And they're doing the sports thing. And I knew I was nominated for it, but what are my chances of winning? And the winner is Rene Knott. I was like, everybody's like, oh, backstage, like, oh, I ran from backstage out onto the stage, and I was just like hyperventilating and everything else, because it was one of those moments where you get recognized for all of your hard work. And I think it's one of those moments when you feel like you've earned that respect, you've been given that respect. People not only like you, but they like how you do what you do. And so for me, that was beautiful. Now, when I was here for the longest time, I didn't put in for Emmys at all. It is something about being judged that I have a hard time with. I don't like being judged. But in those days, I was, let's do it. Then as I got older, I'm like, because I would be highly disappointed if I didn't win. STL Headliners, that's what it's called. I was remembering what Big Michi had. But I remember being in the STL Headliners, and you're one of the finalists, but it's going to be people's voting. And I was never crowned. And I was like, so you always be disappointed. But at the same time, you got to have the respect that you were either nominated or you're in the running. You're part of the race. So that's what counts the most.
And then not only that, but recently, I'll say within the last maybe 2 years or so, you were given this.
Yes.
Key to the city, the proclamation from previous mayor to Charlotte Jones. So talk about that feeling.
That's again one of those moments where you feel like you've arrived. You feel like someone not only believes in you, but believes you're something good for the city. You're something good for the community. That proclamation, first time I ever had one, the only time I ever had one. It's in a proud place right now, a very proud place. My wife was there with me, and I give my wife a lot of credit for so much, because she was the one that helped push me through, but not push, but just be there for support, be there to always encourage me to push myself to do things differently from time to time, look at things differently from time to time. So she was there that night, and that was special to have her there. And, it's something that can never be taken away. And I love the fact that that's the case. But it really made me feel like I am St. Louis when that happened. It's like,
This
they do like me.
yeah. Like I said, that has to be an awesome feeling, and I'm very big on appreciation because times we're on borrowed time.
Yeah.
And we just never know.
Yeah.
And life is too short to not once again give flowers, feel that reward, feel that appreciation. But you brought up your wife, and how much she has meant to you. So talk about this day right here.
So that actually is not our wedding day, which is kind of funny.
Oh, okay.
Because our wedding pictures were taken by a friend and they weren't very good. So we had another friend who was an actual photographer. And so she, it was probably a month later or so. So she put everything back on and we went to the park and we took pictures. But we've been married for 38 years. And I've known my wife since my sophomore year of college. So you're going all the way back to 1983. I've known her since then. And we met, when I first saw her, it was during summer training for football in college. And I remember her being outside in this little Dodge Colt. And I said, "Who's that?" And someone told me who she was. I went, okay, put it back in my mind and didn't think about it again. And then one night we're at this club. This club was 18 and up. It was pretty much 18 to 25-year-olds that were in there, called Fat City. And it was just a dance club and, no alcohol, nothing like that. And she was there and we clicked, danced and everything else. And next thing you know, her and I have been together ever since. With 2 kids, both college graduates. We've lived in 4 different cities and it has been, I'm not going to say it's been a walk through the rose garden the entire time, but it has been magic.
And that's what I was going to actually ask you next is the sacrifices that she had to go through.
Everything. Our kids always had somebody at home. And so she was always home when the kids would come home from school. She went to all the games and everything else. I went to as many games as I could, but because of my schedule, I couldn't go to all of them. I was out of town. My son was a football player, and so I'd be out of town on the weekend, say with the Rams or whatever. And there was one particular weekend, they were playing Wabash. He went to WashU, and he caught the winning touchdown in overtime against Wabash. And he was on the cover of D3 Sports, their little website and stuff like that. And my wife was at the game, but I wasn't at the game. I was in Detroit, and so I was like, that was painful. His senior year, he was incredible. He was the conference player of the year offensively, and she went to every game. Now, I couldn't go to every game, but she went to every. So the games at WashU, games on the road, and she's that type of mom. And there was one game she had to go to Cleveland for, and we had friends that lived in Cleveland because their son was my son's best friend. And she flew out of Lambert and flew into Columbus, Ohio. How she got to Columbus and not Cleveland, I couldn't tell you, but somehow she ended up in Columbus and not Cleveland. So she had to rent a car and drive at night. The entire way, she's just bawling on the phone, talking to me, and I can't believe this happened. And then she calls Lisa Turman, who's her friend in Cleveland, and she stays on the phone with her when she drove up from Columbus to Cleveland. But she's always been there for the kids. She's always been there for me. And, I wouldn't say she's a great cook or anything like that. She's just a good person and always supportive. And, when you're going through stuff, you need somebody who's there for you. And right now, when I'm going through the days where it's not even the days, it's the moments where I just feel like a failure, like, you're lost. You're just like, what's going on? You're confused. She's been very strong and has been very supportive to say, hey, you got this. Don't worry about it. We'll be fine. And you need that in your life. Because if you don't have that in your life, if you're trying just to rely on yourself to get things done, there's too much going on to do that.
Yeah, I agree because, and I always do this. She probably can't stand it, but I'm always very big on uplifting and showing love and appreciation once again. And just the importance of having a woman that you prayed for. There shouldn't be a time where you don't give her all the love and praise that she deserves because it's what you prayed for. So why hold back and not show her love here on this show or on social media or in person, because this is what you've been praying for your whole life and you get it. So it has to be an amazing feeling. I've been married for 4 years and is once again, it's one of the best feelings ever to have someone that you go to bed with, wake up with every day, knowing that about everything else in life that's going on, you got something solid.
I will say this.
There was time that you couldn't.
I do believe one of the keys to successful marriages is time and space.
Mm-hmm.
That you can't be all up against somebody every day, all the time. That there are days and times where it's okay to be in the same room and not have a conversation. It's okay to be in the same house, but in separate rooms. It's okay to be somewhere else. And, you know, the love doesn't change.
Right.
But sometimes when you're always with that person, you start to wear on that person starts to wear on you. But when you're away, you want to see him again. You want to hug her again. You want to kiss her again. And so I do think absence makes the heart grow fonder is a true statement. So I always feel that time and space is important. You need to be your own person as well as be a couple. Because if you're just a couple, who are you?
Right.
You got to have your own identity too. And I think we've been able to do that. I think that's probably why there's a little bit of a odd feeling for me, because I feel like I'm the one that's home all the time now, waiting for her to come back home. And it used to be vice versa for the longest time. And hopefully soon it won't be that way anymore. But she's there for me. And without that support, man, I couldn't even tell you where I would be right now.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Let's talk about this amazing.
You got
photo.
another picture?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
Let's talk about this photo.
Holy smokes.
Yes.
Oh, so that was early. So Erin, that's my daughter. She is 30 years old. And that's Easton, my son. He's 35. So I want to say that was shortly after. So I'm thinking that was probably in 2000-ish. No, because she wasn't 5-year-old. So she's probably 3 or whatever. But we were there for a fashion show. My wife and I were in a fashion show. And we were there early and just in the green room, just kind of chilling out and talking to people and everything else. I was a different built guy in those days. We had a townhouse in Germantown, Maryland. And in the back of the townhouse, there's these woods and a creek. This was the bridge that went over the creek. So we wanted to do our family Christmas pictures. And those, of course, you could probably figure out the years. If you look at the jersey numbers, I had a Ronnie Lott jersey. I
had a Charles Woodson.
Yeah, and Easton had Michael Vick from Vautech at the time. And I don't know whose jersey number Erin has on at the time.
Because that was a previous Redskin jersey.
Yeah.
But I can't tell.
What's funny about
Erin, 24, 34.
She had her hair straightened, and she used to love to get her hair straightened. But her hair is naturally really curly. So it's thick, and it's about that long, but curly now. But when she was little, she would love to get it straightened out so it would go all the way down. But her hair to back went all the way onto her butt when she was that big. She has a lot of hair. She was probably, we moved here, she was going into the 4th grade. So that's probably 6 years old, maybe.
And you mentioned earlier how, as being a father, how you and your dad was pretty much now on the same plane, because now you understand what he was as a father to you. And with you being a husband, I'm sure that this moment here made you change your thought process with your daughter when this moment happened.
Oh man, that was one of the greatest moments. That was her wedding day 2 summers ago. And what was another bonus to all that was that our son Easton officiated the wedding too. He got ordained online, was able to officiate it. But you know, it's one of those days that you think about, dream up, but you think, okay, who knows what's ever going to happen? How am I going to handle it? And it was just a beautiful day, a wonderful moment. It was over at the Stone Cottage in St. Charles. And, she had a small wedding. It wasn't a big wedding, but it was just enough. And we had all of our friends there and people flew in for it and everything else. But yeah.
So I know for me, 50 years down the line, that I may be in that same position, but talk about
50 years, so your daughter's 10. You're gonna get married at 60.
But talk about letting go. You know, when the minister asks who wants to let their, talk about that.
I think they've been together for a while, and so letting go really happened. Gosh, probably 5 years prior to that moment, back when they were in college, and that's where they met. And once we realized that that was going to be her guy, because they were always together and always would come to visit the house for the Thanksgivings and the Christmases, that, okay, this was going to be the person. And it never really felt like, oh my gosh, give my daughter away. It was more like, oh, she's a grown woman now.
Yeah.
You know, this is what happens when you become grown.
Right.
You just kind of accept it and let it go. I mean, I'm more, and I don't know if he's watching or not. My son's the one that I want to try to get married off everybody else. I just feel sometimes like this. He said he's the man, and if he had a person in his life full time, that his life would have so much more balance to it, because you learn that you're doing something for something more than yourself. You know, in the beginning, you're always just about you. Once you get that other person, there's that responsibility, there's that bond, there's that I want to do for you that takes place too.
Right. Yeah. So shouts out to your family, a wonderful, beautiful family.
Thank you.
Love this conversation once again. And of
That's
course,
my mom. Yeah, she so that was when I went back to Las Vegas. Her mom had passed away, my grandmother, and we had come back for her funeral. And then in 2020, my mother was diagnosed with colon cancer, and you know, you're going through the pandemic. So she lived with my sister at that time in Las Vegas. And my dad had passed away in April of 2004, prostate cancer. And so we couldn't have a service. I had gone out to see my mom in September of 2020. She passed away in February of 2021. But, you know, when I saw her, I knew I probably wasn't going to see her again. Same thing happened with my dad. The last time I saw him, I knew that was going to be the last time I saw him. But the hard part was that you couldn't have a service. And to this day, it feels incomplete because you don't get to really say that last goodbye. And on my phone, I still have a text message that she sent me my birthday in 2020 that I've kept and will continue to keep because it's her voice and I get to hear it one more time.
And then once again,
that's Pops, Ralph Knott, the legend. He's the guy that taught me style, taught me hard work, taught me family, just taught me life, and never set you down and gave you the lecture and said, this is what you do, this is how you do. You did because you watched him and you took that away from your dad's hard work, your dad's commitment to family and, you know, sacrifices and all that. That's what you do when you're the head of the household, and I always felt that way. And that's why I tell people now when I get to speak to groups that be respectful of where you are at all times, because you never know who's watching you. And some kid or some person who wants to think of you in a certain way is watching you and going, you're either going to solidify that thought that they had, or you're going to have them say, oh, I didn't know they were like that. Or that kid's watching you thinking, oh, that's how you treat a woman, or that's how you treat it. And it's the little things, you know, barking at somebody who was just serving you food or something like that. People take those things away. And so I always say that you're always setting an example for somebody. So be respectful of yourself and respectful of others.
Right. So the man that you are now, what would you say to this person right here on the screen?
You know what?
Or people.
Just be strong. You know, be strong. Anything and everything is possible. It's just a matter of being focused. It's a matter of not letting the doubters sidetrack you. When I was in college, my senior year, I had a teacher tell me that I did not speak well enough to be on television, but I could always be a camera person or be behind the scenes because I had a black dialect. And instead of going, okay, I went and worked on it. I went and worked on being able to pronounce words and talk certain ways, and not necessarily change the way I talk, but slow down and be clear in the way you talk. Make sure you ended your words when you talked. And that took a little while because, you know, from time to time you start to go.
Right.
But you don't necessarily have to let somebody decide your fate because they like or don't like you. It's up to your hands. It's what you make of it. And so go make it. And in the end, there's no one to blame but yourself if you actually went and tried. If you never tried, then you didn't want it anyway.
Yeah, because the worst feeling you want to have is looking back and saying, man, I should have at least did this. I should have at least tried that. And I didn't make that happen. So yeah, that's very crucial right there. So I love to ask this question as we are ending this amazing conversation, but take away.
We're done already?
Time go by so fast, doesn't it? But take away being a anchor, being a father, being a husband, being a son, just take away all those things. Who is Rene Knott?
Just a regular guy. Just a regular guy. I mean, I don't think of myself as anything other than a guy who's had some tremendous experiences. In some ways, I feel like I've lived different lives because of different things I've been able to do. But I just feel I'm just a regular person. I have ambitions and there's things I want to do, and it's always been the case. But I've never looked at my life and said, I'm a conqueror, I'm a this. I think I'm just a regular guy who believes in himself and believes in giving it your all, no matter what that is that I do. Athletics afforded me a lot of things, but what it gave me most of all was a confidence in a belief that if I worked hard enough, I could do it. I remember in 1985, I bench pressed 500 pounds. I've only done it once. And a lot of that was just the mental concentration of you can do this, you can do this, and then getting under the weights and doing it. And that moment showed me the power of the mind. And so my mother would always say, if you can believe it, you can achieve it. And it really is true. And so that's why I feel like I'm just a regular person, but I keep a strong belief in what my abilities are.
Love it, love it. And any special shout outs that you want to go ahead and give? You can look right at the camera and let them know.
Hi, Marla. This is my wife. Thank you for everything. Easton, Aaron, thank you guys for everything. That love, that support you guys give me keeps me going. So thank you very much.
There we go. So once again, thank you,
man,
being a Smoooth Conversations. I've once again been looking forward to this. There we go. Smooth with 3 O's. I hope everyone else has enjoyed this conversation. It was amazing. I know you kind of was bringing up a little bit earlier about podcasting and et cetera, but what is next for you?
I mean, we're talking about a podcast. I mean, right now, I'm just trying to find a new passion in life. And I'm wondering, because a lot of people have said that, you know, God's got bigger plans. And I keep thinking, well, maybe that plan is not in television. Maybe that plan is on a different platform. So at this stage, there's things I want to do. I'm just trying to find the avenues to do them. But a podcast is certainly up there among the tops of things. I don't know if there's going to be another television opportunity. I mean, I am 61 years old, and it seems to be a younger person's game. And I mean, who knows where the landscape is going in all of that. But hopefully within the next couple of weeks, I could give you a better answer.
There you go. Let me know. And I saw that you recently did a story on dirty mugs.
Yeah.
And a few weeks ago, I had Nico Smith
He's
right
the man.
here.
He's smooth.
I had him right here on the show. Amazing conversation.
Yeah.
And they'll be celebrating their anniversary,
15th
year.
15th.
And my wife and I will be there.
Oh,
so we'll be at the show.
Cool.
We got the treatment, so we look forward to it. She's like the one. She is probably the biggest Dirty Mugs fan ever. So it's gonna be amazing.
Yeah.
But I see you doing what you're doing. So just thank you for all you've done.
No, thank you
for St. Louis.
Well, appreciate that.
I know for those, there's a lot of people watching and tuned in. So I hope that everyone has just been enjoying this conversation and really just take it in and continue to shower this man with all the love that he deserves. With that being said, the Smoooth Conversations, y'all scan the QR code, follow Smoooth Productions. Just go to Smoooth Productions all across social media. You can also go to the Platform Sports Talk Show Network. Just put in the Platform Sports Talk Show all across social media as well. If you need some photography, videography, drone services, some cool productions, you have Smooth Moments. Shouts out to KBDR Beat. District Radio. Check out their website, see all the other shows that we have. Download the app as well, Android and Google Play. And of course, as you see here, Ladies Night every first Wednesday of the month, all across social media, and the Man Cave every last Wednesday of the month. In between that, you have the main show where I'll be hosting. So every Wednesday, the Platform Sports Talk Show Network. Scan the QR code or go to smoothproductions.com. Once again, that is Smoooth with 3 O's. And once again, a pleasure having the one and only Mr. Rene Knott holding things down here at the TSC, the Sounders Experience. And stay tuned for the next episode. And I got, once again, 4 more days until my birthday. So
happy birthday.
I appreciate that. About to get it in. Thank y'all for the love. Follow Smoooth Conversations on YouTube, y'all. Go ahead and do it right now. Follow Smoooth Conversations, Smoooth with 3 O's. Like, subscribe. Check out the many conversations I've had with so many great people, so many great talent, not just here in St. Louis, but all around the world. They have incredible stories to share that will inspire you as well. So once again, thanks for tuning in to Smoooth Conversations, where the conversations are always smooth.
What you have just experienced was brought to you by Smoooth Productions. Until next time, stay tuned and stay smooth.